You ever met a woman that, she's just so beautiful, she walks in and you're like, wow, she's very attractive. But then all of a sudden she opens her mouth, she's loud, when it comes to, she doesn't like, she likes to hold men and touch their arms and everything. She's showing no discretion. It doesn't say she's a simple woman. She's just not ladylike. She's not acting like a lady. You see her and you're like, wow, she's beautiful. But the first thing out of her mouth is, yo, what's up, babe? It's like, oh my gosh. She looks beautiful, but the minute she speaks, the minute she behaves, you're like, wow. It just, especially to a wise person, it just turns them off. As a gold ring in a swine's snout, so is a beautiful woman who lacks discretion.
Preach the word and none of that hate gon' work.
Hold up.
Now I don't know what you heard, but don't believe anyone that can't show you the word.
Hey, Proverbs 11. Now we're into the wise sayings of Solomon. Remember, the first chapter 1 through 10 was getting us the right mindset concerning wisdom. So then now when we go to get wisdom, we come with it with the right mindset or the right approach. So let's just start off. Let's see, verse 1. Proverbs 11, verse 1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. All right? So God doesn't like scales that are false. It reminds me of when you go to the deli and you say, let me have a pound of beef. And then the deli guy puts the beef in, then he touches the scale a little bit so it could say 1 pound, but it's really like 3/4 of a pound. God hates that. But he's not talking about here just a butcher shop or the deli. He's talking about when you make unrighteous standards. You should always have the same standard, the same scale. You ever see the lady justice? She has like a scale in her hand. You got to make sure you're blind and you judge fairly based on the evidence. Not, well, you know what? I'm a judge based on favoritism or because I don't like that person. You got to judge, like it says, a just weight is his delight. Make sure, like Jesus said, you got to judge righteous judgment. Don't let your judgment be influenced and then you have false balance. Verse 2, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. You ever hear somebody that's proud, saying, yeah, we're gonna win the championship. And all of a sudden they lose. When pride comes, then comes disgrace. Don't boast. Don't be prideful or else you're going to be embarrassed. But with the humble is wisdom. A humble person, they see the proud guy making all these boastful claims and then being disgraced. But the humble is like, you know what? I think I could win this thing. I think I could do this thing, but I'm going to keep quiet because he's wise, because he knows there's always a chance it might not go through. Verse 3, the integrity of the upright guides them. So the integrity, remember, integrity is when you do something right and nobody's looking. People that, the integrity of the upright, those that do right, guides them. If they're doing right in darkness, in the secret place, they're going to do it everywhere else. But the crookedness or the perverseness of the treacherous destroys them. The crookedness or perverseness of the treacherous destroys them. That verb, you ever heard the word pervert? Perverse, crooked. A pervert, they might get away with it for a while, but in the end, it's going to destroy them. That's how you don't want to be crooked or perverse in your ways, because you will get caught. You will get exposed. Verse 4, riches do not profit in the day of wrath. All right? Your riches are not going to save you if a tornado rips through your house. It's not going to save you if an invading army comes and captures you. They're just going to take your money. If anything, you'll be a bigger target. It's not going to save you in the day of wrath, riches. But righteousness delivers from death. So if you want to be delivered from death, even in the day of wrath, be right. Because that will deliver you more than your riches. If somebody knows you're right, they'll be like, you know what? Let's leave him alone. He's a right man. He's been doing the good things. But if you're wicked and you're like, well, I got money. No, you're going to be destroyed. The righteousness of the blameless keeps his way straight. All right. So if you're walking right and walking blameless, you'll keep walking straight. But the wicked falls by his own wickedness. It's just like that verse in Galatians. You reap what you sow. The wicked are going to fall by what they're doing. You know, that's a come. The Bible says the wages of sin is death. That's a come. You don't want to commit sin because it's gonna you're gonna fall by it. You know, God wants life for you, but if you keep walking in sin, it's going to lead to death. Verse 6: the righteousness of the upright delivers them. All right. Again, if you're doing right, your righteousness will deliver you from any situation. A person will recognize that's a good man. Leave him alone. You know, I remember in Jeremiah's day, the Babylonians came in. They just destroyed the city, took everybody captive, killed many. But when they saw Jeremiah, they said, you know what? Let's leave him alone. We'll give you a few things so you could survive. And wherever you want to go, you want to go. Why? Because his righteousness delivered him. But the treacherous are taken captive by their lust. The treacherous are taken captive by their lust. See, look, there's nothing wrong with having a desire. But when your desire crosses over to lust, when your desire says, no, I want it, you're going to be taken captive by it. That's become as dangerous to lust. You know, one of the sins is, one of the works of the flesh is lasciviousness. Right? Lasciviousness means lust. It will take you captive. That's become you shouldn't go by your lust. Whether it's food, whether it's a sin like fornication, adultery, stealing, don't let that desire turn to a lust because you're going to be taken captive. Verse 7, when the wicked dies, his hope perishes. His hope will perish. So anything that the wicked wanted, they're not even going to get it. Their hope is going to be gone. And the expectation of wealth perishes too. Because the wicked, all they think about is money, 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 money. So the expectation he had of getting money, 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 money is going to die with him. Right? But now look, verse 8. There's the contrast. The righteous is delivered from trouble. Again, if you're doing right, there's the promise of God. If you're doing the right things, when trouble comes, there's always going to be a season of trouble in your life. When trouble comes, you're going to be delivered from it. And the wicked walk into it, and the wicked walks into it, and the wicked walks into it instead. So the trouble that the righteous would have had, that he's been delivered, the wicked is going to suffer for it. You know, so that's why you want to live uprightly. That's why you want to be righteous. So there's going to be trouble coming, but the wicked is going to fall into it. You're not going to fall. You're going to be delivered. So that's why you want to strive to be righteous. Verse 9, with his mouth, the godly man destroys his neighbor. You ever heard the godless man. With his mouth, the godless man destroys his neighbor. In other words, one of those people that like to run his mouth, always, talking nonsense and talking slanders and insults, he destroys his neighbor. He tattletales, he snitches. But by knowledge, the righteous are delivered. Now, remember, this verse has to apply with the verse before. See, the knowledge, the righteous know what his neighbor is doing, but he's not running his mouth. So the righteous are delivered from being destroyed, while the godless likes to run his mouth, he's destroyed. Verse 10, when it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices. It's a beautiful thing when a city or a state or a country have people that are doing right, because the people around will rejoice. Everything you could walk down the street at night, it'll be peaceful. You won't get mugged. Again, what it says, when it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices. Now here's a contrast. And when the wicked perish, there are shouts of gladness. So when in a city, when a wicked man dies, people celebrate. That guy that likes to mug people, that likes to extort people. When they die, the city's like, amen. Even unbelievers, they're like, thank God he's gone. But the righteous, they're like, oh, thank God. God bless that man. He's doing so good. He's doing good by the community. All right, scroll up. 11. By the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted. All right. So when the city have many righteous people, the city is blessed. I'm going to keep it real. Like, they call the South the Bible Belt. Now look at our cities compared to the cities in the Northeast, or the Pacific Coast, like California, or Oregon and Washington. They're not blessed. There's crime. There's people scheming and plotting. Politicians are corrupt, very corrupt there. By the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted. The reason why in the South is more blessed than in the North, that's because the people in the North are fleeing to the South because they don't want to be there anymore, because the blessing is upon here because of the upright. But the mouth of the wicked, it is overthrown. Again, one thing you're going to discover in the book of Proverbs is that the mouth of the wicked gets them in trouble a lot. They like to run their mouth. They don't know when to stop, and it gets them in trouble. And they're overthrown. Verse 12. Whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense. All right? So if you have neighbors, don't think you could bad talk them and all that. Even if they did something wrong, don't belittle your neighbor because you lack sense. If you have an issue, dialogue with them. Talk to them. Don't be gossiping and slandering. Go up to him, because why? Whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense. But a man of understanding remains silent. You see, the one who lacks sense belittles his neighbor. The wise man, the man of understanding, he's quiet about it. Not that he doesn't notice it, but he knows I shouldn't approach him in that fashion because he's still my neighbor. He's still going to live next to me, and I want peace in my community. I don't want to have strife and all that. So I'll just talk to him. I'll remain silent, until the right moment comes to speak. Verse 13, whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets. All right? Look, when somebody tells you something intimate, it's not for you to be nosy and try to find out, or it's not for you to, tell people about it. And it's not necessarily they're telling you, look, it's a secret. You got to have enough wisdom to say, okay, this should be personal. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. I don't care if it's your husband, your kids. You should be quiet. Why? Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets. So whoever reveals secrets is a slanderer. We shouldn't be those people that if somebody tells us something that's confidential, that you should know better not to tell anyone. You're like, oh, babe, this person, you know what they told me? No, keep it to yourself between you and that person. They had the trust in you to tell you something. You should keep it quiet. Okay. But he was trustworthy in spirit, keeps a thing covered. See? A slanderer reveals secrets, but whoever's trustworthy in spirit keeps things covered. In other words, they know better. They're like, I'm not going to reveal this. This is their business, and they confide in me, so I'm not going to, and that's a trustworthy person. That's when you know somebody's trustworthy. But I tell you this, if somebody's not wise, don't trust them. If they're a fool, don't trust them. Only a wise person, only somebody who's in the faith, and even then, you still got to make sure. All right? Verse 14, where there is no guidance or counsel, where there is no counsel, a people fall. All right? So if you don't have counsel, information, you're going to fall. And it could be over trivial things. For example, you want to buy a car. If you don't know anything about a car and you're just going to go out and buy a car because you just want a car and you didn't get counsel, you're going to fall. You're going to have high car notes, and you're going to realize, oh, wow, I didn't realize it takes this much gas. But if you had counselors around you, they would say, oh, no, based on your income, I don't think you should get that. And maybe you should invest in this one instead of that one. the thing is, get counselors. I don't care if it's trivial, but more so when it comes to right and wrong. Get counselors. Don't just think about it or think or believe. Make sure that you got 2 or 3 people around you that have knowledge so they could, give you that information, or else you're going to fall. Where there is no guidance or counselors, that people fall. But in abundance of counselors, there's safety. So you got to have an abundance of counselors. Not just 1 or 2. Have as many. Say, you know what? I don't know anything about cars. Oh, you know about the engine. You know about financing. Help me out. But don't be so arrogant or so prideful saying, no, I'll figure it out. Because you're going to fall. But there's safety if you have those counselors when you're buying a house. How to raise kids. How to love your husband and wife. If you have more counselors, you'll be safe. Verse 15. Whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer harm. I remember earlier in Proverbs, Solomon was talking about that. Don't do that. Don't give your credit out. Let me use the modern language. Don't give your credit out to somebody, a stranger especially. It's one thing, maybe your family if they're wise, but definitely not your friend or your stranger. Don't be like, oh, well, I think he could pay back. He got a good job. No. Solomon made it very clear. Don't do that. Don't, at all costs, get out of it. Again, he's reiterating that. He's saying, whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer harm. You're going to suffer harm. Don't do it. But he who hates striking hands in pledge is secure. So don't ever, if somebody comes up to you, I don't care if they're sincere, if you've been knowing them for a while, you say, no, I can't do this because it's not a wise thing to do. They might not like you afterwards, but you know what? It says you're going to be secure. And that's what you want to be. You got to use wisdom, not go by your emotions or your friendships. You got to go by wisdom. 16, a gracious woman gets honor. All right. Now here he specifies what kind of woman. A gracious woman, not just any woman. A woman that's full of grace, she's going to be honored. Now what does it mean, a gracious woman? That means she's like ladylike. She's very respectful. She has the attributes of a godly woman, of a good woman. She's going to get honor. And violent man gets riches. Solomon's just making an observation. He's just saying the truth. If a violent man does get riches, they get the riches, but we read through the book of Proverbs, those riches are not going to last. Those riches are going to hurt him in the end, but they get riches. Don't think that if you want to get rich, be a violent man. Be somebody that sticks up people. You're going to get riches, but those riches are going to destroy you. 17. A man who is kind benefits himself. So you see, look, it's a benefit to you to be kind. Don't be unkind. If you're a kind person, you're going to get rewarded. But a cruel man hurts himself. So if you're nasty, you're not kind, you're hurting yourself. You could have had a great friendship with somebody. Somebody might have given you a position, but because you're a cruel person, you're hurting yourself. Now you're not getting that position. Now nobody wants to be around you. But the opposite is true. A man who is kind benefits himself. You'll get benefits for being kind. People will notice that and say, you know what? I think that's, that guy is kind. You know what? Maybe let's make him a supervisor. He's kind. Let me associate with him. All right, verse 18. The wicked earns deceptive wages. All right, so somebody's wicked who's into like selling drugs or hustling. Those are deceptive wages. They're getting wages, but it's deceptive. It's a lying wage. Because in the end, it's going to cost them. They think that they're earning, but in the end, they're losing. But one who sows righteousness gets a sure reward. So if you're sowing right things, if you're doing the right things, you're going to get a reward. While the guy who you think is getting moolah, it's deceptive wages. He's going to get destroyed. That's his reward. Verse 19. Whoever is steadfast in righteousness will live. All right. So if you're steadfast in righteousness, meaning you're always doing the right things. It's not, I'm going to do the right thing for a month, then I'm just going to go back to my ways, but then I'm going to go back 3 months later and do the right thing. No, you got to be, whoever is steadfast in righteousness will live. You know, God doesn't show partiality. He doesn't say, oh, well, I remembered you were living right 2 months ago, so I'll ignore the wickedness you're doing. No, God judges you by your current state. But the thing is, if you've been walking steadfastly, that's a pattern. And he says, you know what? You're going to live. I'm going to protect you. Nobody's going to harm you. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Okay. But he who pursues evil will die. He who if you're pursuing evil, pursuing sin, you're going to die. The wages of sin is death. And it's not just about the death of the second death, the lake of fire. Your sin might cause you to die here. All right? And he who pursues it, you will die. Do you believe the text? That's all I got to ask. Verse 20. Those of crooked heart are an abomination to the Lord. If your heart is perverse, if you have a perverse heart, you know, like the LGBT community, you know, people calling good evil, evil good, you're an abomination to God. You know, don't go to John 3:16 and say, oh, God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son. No, in God's eyes, you're an abomination. You're disgusting. Those of a perverse heart, if you got a perverse heart, an abomination. The word abomination means like disgusting. You're disgusting to the Lord. But those of blameless ways are his delights. So God loves those that are going about the right path. God delights in them. It makes God smile. That's what delight means. God takes pleasure in those that are living uprightly. So, and blameless. Verse 20. Be assured. Now he's saying, look, be assured. This is a promise. Be assured. An evil person will not go unpunished. So don't get it twisted. Don't be like, oh, you know, this person, he's been doing evil and he looks like he's prospering. And no, he will not go unpunished. He's going to get punished either by different men or by God himself. He will get punished. But the offspring or the children of the righteous will be delivered. You know, that's what comes to the point that you, especially you as you guys grow up, that you live right. If you don't care about yourselves, care about your kids. Because if you live upright, they're going to be delivered. And that's a promise. You know, and it doesn't say if they're upright, it doesn't matter. They're going to be delivered because of your uprightness. You know, that's a promise. So, let's see, verse 22. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman without discretion. Now, yeah, I want to use an image, you know, so we could get the image. He said as a gold ring in a swine's snout, a pig's snout, so is a beautiful woman who lacks discretion. What is Solomon saying here? You ever met a woman that, you know, she's just so beautiful, you know, she walks in and you're like, wow, she's very attractive. But then all of a sudden she opens her mouth, she's loud, you know, when it comes to, you know, she likes to hold men and touch their arms and everything. She's showing no discretion. It doesn't say she's a sinful woman. She's just not ladylike. She's not acting like a lady. You know, you see her and you're like, wow, she's beautiful. But the first thing out of her mouth is, yo, what's up, babe? It's like, oh my gosh. She looks beautiful, but the minute she speaks, the minute she behaves, you're like, wow. It just, especially to a wise person, it just turns them off. As a gold ring in a swine's snout, so is a beautiful woman who lacks discretion. So yeah, you could be physically fine, but by your actions and by your demeanor and being unladylike, you look like this, especially to a wise person. So you don't want to be that. All right, give me the next verse. Go back. All right, let's go up. Verse 23. The desire of the righteous only ends in good. See, if you're a right person, when you pray, your desire is for good. That's why you pray. You're not asking for yourself. You're not praying for yourself. You're not saying, oh, God, give me millions of dollars so I could, buy a house in West Palm Beach. No. If you have a desire, say, God, prosper me so then I could, give it to the poor, give it to missionaries. God says the desire of the righteous ends only in good. God might reward you because he sees your heart. He said, you know what? I know you're going to do that and you're going to do good with it. The expectation of the wicked in wrath. So the wicked have expectation too. They have desires too, but theirs is going to end in wrath. You want, which one do you want? Your desire to end in good or your desire to end in wrath? The key is you got to be righteous. Your motive behind your desire should be right. 24. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give and only suffers want. So notice, one gives freely. He has money and he gives it out like nothing. Yet he grows all the richer. You would think that if somebody keeps giving money, they grow poorer, but they're getting richer. Not only financially, but also in themselves. Like Jesus said, it is more blessed to give than receive. But also, if you give, eventually in your time of need, those people that you gave would be like, wait a minute, I remember he gave me, so I'm going to give him double. Yet they get richer. The ones who give freely, they grow richer. Another withholds what he should give. In other words, he should give this money. He's like, I know I got to give my neighbor $10 because I promised I would give it to him. I know I got to give God his tithe, his offering, but I'm going to withhold it because, I think I'm going to make more money. Instead of paying $200 to God, I'll keep it for myself. So I'm making money. It says, and another who withholds what he should give and only suffers want. So in other words, God's going to take it away. What you should have gave, you're holding. God's going to even take that away. But you thought you were going to get rich. See, that's how the spiritual economy works in the eyes of God. Don't think it works like it works here. That's how it works in the eyes of God. All right? In the spiritual realm. 25. Whoever brings blessing will be enriched. So if you bring a blessing, if you bless people, you will be enriched. People will bless you back. And one who waters will himself be watered. Again, if you water somebody, it means you refresh somebody, you're going to be refreshed yourself. So when there's somebody struggling or hurting, and even if they don't have anything, God says you're going to be refreshed or watered yourself. Maybe by them, maybe by God. In some way, God will water you back. All right? Verse 26. The people curse him who holds back grain. So in other words, somebody that has something that people need and they hold it back. Instead of saying, you know what, I know you need this, but I'm going to hold it back because whatever reasons, the people are going to curse that person. But a blessing is on the head of him who sells it. So a blessing on those that they know you need it and they say, you know what, here, you can have it. God says it's going to be a blessing on those that do that. Here he uses the example of grain. Back in the day, when people were starving and somebody had a lot of grain in their, I think it's called the sill. They used to store it there. And people were like, can you please give us grain? And there were some people, they didn't want to do it because they were fearful because there was a famine in the land. But here God says those people who gave, they were blessed in the end. But those that said, nope. What it said? But a blessing is on, that person has a curse on them. So you don't want to curse. So just give if you can. 27. Whoever diligently seeks good seeks favor. All right. So if you're pursuing good, is because you want God to bless you. So you got to ask yourself, are you seeking good? What are you seeking? Because if you seek good, God says he's going to show you his favor. God favors those that seek good. But evil comes to him who searches for it. So if you're not trying to seek good, you're seeking evil and you're going to get evil. You're going to reap what you sow, basically. Verse 28. Whoever trusts in his riches will fall. All right? So don't trust in your riches. Don't be like, oh, look at all this money I got. I've accumulated so much. What does it prosper? Like Jesus said, what does it gain for a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul or his own self? Whoever trusts in riches will fall. Don't trust in riches. You thank God for riches. Want to be like, this is my security. This is what I trust in more than God. What I have here, because you don't know. A tornado might rip in. Somebody might rob your house. Don't trust in riches. But the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. So again, it's using like agriculture term. That the righteous is like a seed that grows and then you see the leaf come out. That's how the righteous flourish. Notice, a green leaf doesn't grow overnight. It takes time, but they will flourish. And that's how we get rich. The righteous don't get rich. I mean, God might bless them all of a sudden, but in general, God will, with all the righteous, make them flourish, but it's gradual. It's not like you're going to get $1 million check. Now, God might open that window, but usually God will still, regardless, flourish you. All right, where am I? 28, 29. Whoever troubles his own household will inherit the win. All right? So if you have a house, if you're a son, a daughter, a mother, a wife, if you're in a household, it says here, if you trouble that household, in other words, there should be peace in a house, but you're there causing trouble, you're going to inherit the wind. What does it mean, inherit the wind? Like I said, in that area in the Middle East, when the sandstorm came in, it just wiped out all the harvest. It just destroyed crops. It destroyed people's, not homes. Yeah, might have knocked down their homes. That's what you're going to inherit. If you whoever troubles his own household. So you're in a house and you're troubling it, you're going to inherit the wind. So if you're one of those that are in a house and you're troubling it, you're not making your mom, dad, your sister, brother, sister happy, you better watch out because you're going to inherit the wind. And the fool will be a servant to the wise of heart. So, see, the fool, there's a verse in Proverbs that says that the fool thinks that he's wise in his own eyes. But in the end, he's going to be the one serving the wise of heart. So don't be a fool. And that's the thing. When you encounter a fool, they think that the smartest person on earth. Don't be a fool because you're going to be serving a wise person in heart. Verse 30. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. So again, the righteous here are depicted as a tree, and you're like blessing. You're providing fruit. You're providing shade and covering. You're like a tree to people if you're living right. And whoever captures souls is wise. All right. A lot of churches like to take this verse as an evangelistic verse, saying, "Oh, whoever goes out there and evangelizes and brings people to Jesus, they're wise." I mean, you could apply it to that, but the truest essence, when Solomon wrote this, he's talking about at a time of war, that if you're a wise person and you had an enemy, that you were fighting and they surrendered, you are a wise person, because basically it could have ended where you guys were fighting and many would have died, but because you were wise enough and you were able to capture them without even throwing an arrow, you are wise. All right, that's what I say. So it says whoever captures souls is wise. If you could, now we got to apply it to ourselves. It's not just, that's the original intent. If you pull somebody out of a situation where they would have died, or if there's a situation where it could have gotten really bad, but you found a way to deliver somebody out of that, you're a wise person. And then the last verse, 31. If the righteous is repaid on earth. All right, notice it said that if you're righteous, God's going to repay you on earth. Don't think, there's a verse that says, do not go weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap a harvest. If you're living right, you're going to be repaid on earth, not only in heaven. Don't think, oh, I'm going to get my rewards in heaven. I'm waiting. No, God's going to reward you here. How much more the wicked and the sinner? God's going to repay the wicked and the sinner here on earth. They're going to suffer. The wicked, meaning they're perverse, and the sinner means they break God's laws. They don't even care about it. They're going to be repaid. They're going to get a disease. They're going to lose their job. They're going to lose their health. Nobody's going to be around them. They're going to be repaid on earth too. All right? So we'll end there. That's Proverbs 11. So, anybody? So with that,